welcome to the Taylor Truth Podcast. Gonna be a little bit different. I'm your host, D. Taylor.
I'm tired.
You gotta speak up, please.
Hello, I am tired. We're not doing SMR.
SMR?
SRM.
ASMR.
ASWP. LOMNOP.
The silliness starts, and the silliness
You have to
just
be.
beginning because this is gonna be a silly but a very serious show tonight. We're trying to right now share it on our platforms to let everyone know that we are actually live and ready to comment on some of the things that's been happening, some of the things that's been going on in our world and in our city. We are located here in the capital city of Virginia, in which we have been hit with some COVID, but we also been hit with some civil unrest. And so, as we are beginning to share our pages and beginning to put everything up, we just want you to bear with us for a minute, and we're gonna get into the seriousness. We got some silly stuff to talk about, but we're gonna get into the seriousness in just a moment. Um, so, as we are in Virginia and we are in Richmond, um, we've the governor have allowed different cities to go into phase one of the reopening of our cities, and we actually in Richmond, the city of Richmond. Um, the city of Richmond opened 2 weeks later than the rest of the state, as well as Northern Virginia, some cities in Northern Virginia. So the city is now open. It opened on Friday, and as of today, we're on a curfew.
Well, we not on curfew.
Well, we're not on curfew.
We don't live in the city.
Yeah, but I'm just saying the city's on curfew.
The city's on. The city said we not on curfew either. It's like how your daddy tell you can't go outside, and then your mama like, yeah, go ahead out there. You should be fine.
Yeah.
So daddy gonna be mad about. He probably mad right about now.
But before we get into what we got going on with the seriousness of everything that's happening, everything that's popping off, let's get into some of this COVID news real quick. None of this. We're not doing a bunch of the serious COVID stuff. We're just going to talk about a couple of things before we get into the meat, the civil unrest. COVID is really affecting businesses, and we have seen a lot of businesses shut down that was already in trouble before COVID hit, and COVID just expedited their shutting down and closing. One of the biggest industries that's been hit is the travel industry. And because of the travel industry has been hit, nobody is going anywhere. And because no one's going anywhere, they do not need cars to rent. And so earlier this week, last week, Hertz filed for bankruptcy. This is the second time they filed for bankruptcy in the last 5 years.
That's crazy.
So now they have a lot of
they got a lot of cars.
They got a lot of cars that's
they
on
need
sale.
Y'all to buy.
They need y'all to buy. They need y'all, and there's some good deals out there. I looked at it out myself earlier this week.
Use your stimulus as a down payment.
And they got a couple of cars that's like a couple grand because it's cheap. They're trying to get rid of cars. They got too much inventory and have a lot of things going on. Hey, Mom, how you doing? Good. Thank you for tuning in. Please share it on your Facebook page if you know how.
Don't let them talk about you like that, Mom.
But it is wild. It is the business sector is going crazy, but also the stock market is starting to creep up until that guy says something. Every time he says something, it goes
drops
back down.
Again.
It goes back.
But
down.
For the past 3.5 years, you have not been able to control what he says or what he tweets, and so it is what it is. Oh, we forgot. Wine of the week this week is good old faithful Barefoot. They have come out with Moscato flavored Moscatos. This one is apple, and they have a watermelon, a peach. I think there were 2 others, but I can't remember. So this is the apple fruit Scotto. fancy
Apple,
with the
fruit.
words.
You
Apple,
can't see the label.
fruit. I can't see. There you go.
Yeah.
You
Product placement.
Yes. So shout out to Barefoot. They always coming through with the inexpensive bottles. And the way we are feeling, I don't know about him, but just in the last couple of days, you need a bottle this size for $8. This is a heck of a deal for $8.50.
$8.50 at your local grocery store.
At your local grocery store. We got ours from the Kruger. So yeah, that's that. So go find y'all vehicles. A lot of more rental car places had their vehicles, set to the side. We saw them in the parking lots at the mall because they had to sit somewhere. They had overstock. They're not used to cars just sitting. They used to transferring them out, and you can go flipping them and putting them in this state and that state. But they, because of COVID, they haven't had that. And so you had parking lots. I know our parking lot here at the mall was full of rental vehicles just sitting and waiting. So as they're slowly opening things back up in the phases, they started to disappear, but it's still way too many. So they're going to need y'all to help them out.
Yep, help them out. Help them out. If you got something, go ahead and get it and upgrade.
She said, I don't know.
I saw that. It's all right. It's okay. We're going to keep trucking anyway. Another major announcement came through the CDC this week. The rodents. The CDC has now issued a warning to people: don't go into back alleys at night. And if you ever been to New York, there are no small mice or mice that we have here in Richmond. That, I'm scared, but it's cute. Nah, those are full-grown men. They rats.
It's a rat.
They are huge. They are master splinter-sized rats.
They are rats. That they had control at first, but now they
don't have anything to eat because the restaurants are not throwing the trash out. And so they're starting to terrorize the people and themselves, and they're eating their babies.
And you think about people been on, in quarantine, so they probably pretty much had the streets to themselves. So they're like, no, y'all need to go on back in the house.
No, y'all need to come on out and go into
give us the food, but go back inside.
Yeah.
Give us the food, but go back inside. So yeah, watch out for those if you're in those larger cities. I'm sure it's not just New York, but it's anybody that has
Chicago.
a large
LA, everywhere.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Miss Aisha,
that's your friend. That's your friend.
I have a back and forth relationship with Miss Carey, Aisha Carey. She made it into the news or the blogs this week because we know how outspoken she can be. The interview with what's her face she got herself in some trouble when she was talking about, remember a while ago we was talking about her
the red table talk
and she was talking about
she wanted to be wanted,
right? And I was with her on that. What's up, Tori? I was with her on that, but she has made herself back to another controversial situation. She has never been one to bite her tongue about morals and what she think what good women are a representation of. And she made the mistake. Please don't quote me on this because I know I don't have it exact. But she made a quote some years back, I think it was 2015, to the effect of women keeping something to the imagination or keeping their body parts covered for the person that mattered.
She said that, eh?
She said that, and she said, it wasn't for her, and she didn't say anybody specific, but she was talking about, I guess Instagram models or celebrities who choose to not leave a whole lot to the imagination, but embracing their bodies and going out and whatever it is they feel like going out, which women have the right to do. But she had a lot to say. Sis had a lot to say in 2015.
Was she mad because my man was liking some pictures?
No, I mean I think that was her honest opinion at the time.
Okay.
But some hypocrisy has entered the building once this lost a few lbs. So she lost a few pounds and then got slim and trim. I didn't even recognize the picture when I saw it.
I didn't know who that was.
Who was that? It did not look like herself, but she was her photo was praising her body in a green bikini. She looked absolutely fabulous.
Two-piece
Bikini.
Okay.
So we all know what a two-piece looks like. This was not your mother's old school tankini with the tank top and the skirt at the bottom. That's not what it was. It was a full bikini top and bikini bottom. And she was like,
Bikini bottom.
shut up. Shout out to SpongeBob. But she was not. Everything was exposed except for her vital parts, which happens when you wear a bathing suit. But I guess she forgot that she made those comments years back.
When you post stuff, it does not.
Twitter does not let you forget.
They will not let you forget.
And so they promptly came after her, like, sis, no. You told us we had to leave these bodily parts
covered for our men.
Covered for the people that mattered.
For the people that matter.
And they promptly let her know, like, no, we shan't forget you said this. They called it, they said she slut-shamed people at the time. And now it's convenient because she has lost weight. So are you saying, of course the implications came, are you saying that women that have fuller figures shouldn't show their body parts? Or are you just saying
this world, man,
yeah.
you can't make a statement then change your mind for nothing.
You
can't have varying different views at different stages of your life without the people coming.
They're going to come for you. And I give her that. Like, you have every right to do so. A lot has changed in 4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years, man.
And her growth as a woman, because that's what we do, especially with, at the time she was put in the spotlight, she was still very young.
And she just had another baby.
She just had a baby. There's a lot of changes that occur. So, of course, we have to, I would look at somebody sideways if they didn't have a change of heart in 5 or 6 years. But there was a slight bit of hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Which is why you should never say stuff specifically to people like that. Say my opinion, and for me,
at this moment,
I prefer not to show certain body parts and leave that only for my husband.
Mm-hmm.
That's me. That's you clarify and say that is you, and don't judge people who choose not to do that.
Because I know if you get to the size you really want,
y'all gonna get sick of the time. Please put some clothes on. At least put on a cover. I will not. Y'all let me lose about 30 more pounds.
It is gonna be on and popping.
We saw First Lady on the Instagram. Well, and I've said this before. My blog page is not going to be for the faint at heart or people who think they know me.
You thought you knew.
My regular Instagram, yes, that is for the church folk or people who can't handle people that express themselves
and evolve.
My blog page, if you can come to be nosy or whatever it is, you just can't say nothing sideways because I told you what that portion. That's why it's 2 separate pages.
Yep.
I don't post the same material I post on my blog page as I do. But I've never also come for nobody because do what you feel is good to you. Even the stuff that's too even the stuff that I figure, hey, just because they make it in your size don't mean you put it on. I did have that rationale for things at one time. I did have that thought. But hey, if you feel comfortable, who am I?
Who are you?
Who am I to judge you for what makes you feel good in your skin?
Makes you happy.
Yes. So.
All right. It's time we didn't cover the preliminary stuff.
The lighter side of
the program. It's time to get heavy. It's time to get thick. We want some of your opinions, some of your questions, some of the things that you have on your mind and thinking about what we have going on in our country today. So as I continue to share, and
we're gonna start with we're gonna progress into some things. So the week has been full. The last 2 weeks have been full.
Whew.
And we're going to get back to Minneapolis because they are just full of things. There was a story that went down in Minneapolis, not the main one we're going to talk about tonight, which is spearheaded everything we're going to talk about. But there's a building that is called a WeWork building. So it's like your typical office building where there are a lot of tenants that rent one particular space. But it's several different businesses and startup companies in this building. And then apparently for your patronage of this building, there's access to a gym.
Yeah.
That all of the tenants have a right to use, and they just ask that you not bring in additional people. If, from what I understand, that's the only rule, is you just can't invite your friends and family to use the gym. It's specifically for the tenants that work in the building. Call your mother-in-law and tell her we's on the line.
I'll text her.
Okay.
Called me.
What's your...
Apparently Southside Plaza is on fire.
Pause, y'all. The whole Southside Plaza.
Tell the Truth podcast. We have to check and see.
Give us a moment.
Give us
y'all.
a moment to see if the plaza is still standing.
She is calling me now.
Okay,
Look,
answer the phone.
Hello? Hey. Yeah.
Yeah, Destiny's here.
Yeah, we are recording. I don't know we're recording. Ain't nobody.
We're recording.
But she's here, Mom. She's safe. We'll call you right back.
They heard right back.
Okay, they don't have to call him back. I just want to make sure everybody.
Yes, Destiny is here.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Thanks. Sorry, guys. We just want to confirm a few things. And for people that don't know, that's in the city with us, our child works near what is said to be a flamed currently.
There it is.
Is that and that's your side of the store. I mean, that's your side of the mall, Destiny.
The family. Y'all had a family all over there?
Yeah, it's on that side.
Is it live?
It's on the CBS News. Oh, there's a Foot Locker over there too.
Yeah.
That's on the other side. That's
street.
That's the cross
Where the strip club is.
Where Daddy Rabbit's at.
Yeah. That's sad. That's the side of the mall where the strip club.
Woo!
Okay.
Okay.
Getting back to y'all.
We
Sorry.
got breaking news that was because we were actually broadcasting. We didn't know what was going on. Parents called us to let us know that the Southside Plaza on the opposite side of where my daughter works at is actually somebody set some stuff on fire over there, and it shouldn't actually be this many cars because Richmond is put on punishment.
Supposed to be on
punishment.
There's supposed to be a curfew at 8 p.m. or was. Anywho, okay. So what I was saying, these people work in the WeWork building, and they had access to the gym. And what happened was there were 3 guys in the gym that were working out. A gentleman that works in another company that leases in the same building came down, and he asked them if they belong in the building. Now, this man was white, and these 3 gentlemen working out in the gym were black, or are black. And so he took it upon himself to call the building manager after getting in their face and telling them they did not belong there. So he was under the assumption that one of them worked in the building and the other 2 were the friends that they had invited in, which, like I stated before, is against the rules. Not knowing all 3 gentlemen work for the company, so that they rented this building out from. So all 3 of them work for a company. So this young man's name is Tom Austin, and you have 3 black gentlemen who are just working out in the gym. All 3 of them were employees of this rental space, and so was he in a different firm. He made a ruckus, and the building manager promptly let him know, no, they have every right to be there. These aren't additional people. So before it was all said and done, Mr. Austin lost his job as the CEO of the company that was leasing in the WeWork building. They said they do not tolerate racism. He still has tried to backtrack and say this was not necessarily a race thing. If it was women that he thought had brought in an extra, or if it were white people in general, he would have called, because nobody's supposed to be taking advantage of this office space or gym space that isn't supposed to be there.
Bruh, y'all just need to leave us the hell alone.
Mind your business.
Mind your business. Because you think people just gonna bust into a gym and work out?
Nobody's breaking into gyms and working.
That we ain't supposed to be there? Even
Nobody's
if
breaking into gyms
they
and
weren't supposed to be there, it's none of your business at this point. If these people say they work in the building, leave them alone. They could even be contractors.
I don't know, but he felt the need to not mind his business, even if, like you said, if they didn't belong in the building, somebody would have figured something out.
Yeah.
You let the proper authorities handle what
First
the
of
proper
all,
authorities are supposed to.
in buildings like that, they have a key card.
Right.
So if the people are beyond a door that is locked, they had to have access either by their own personal key card or someone they actually knew in the building.
That's like the man said. Did you hear about the man a couple weeks ago in the moving truck?
Yes.
The guy, he said, obviously, to get into a gated community, I had to have a code to the gate.
Yes.
And they were like, yeah, how did you get the code to the gate? He was like, somebody gave it to me.
And I'm a moving company.
I'm in a truck that says where I'm from, and I have a shirt on that says the business that I represent.
And the truck probably had the phone number of the business.
Any number of things could have made that subside. But anywho. So yeah, that was instance. Well, actually, we could count that as an instance number 2. Instance number 3, we have Miss Amy Cooper, also known as Central Park Karen. Confrontation with a Mr. Christian Cooper, in no relation to each other. Mr. Christian Cooper is black. Miss Amy Karen Cooper is Caucasian. Amy was walking her dog through a portion of Central Park that requires you to leash your dog.
Leash.
And the reason they require you to leash your dog is because this part of the park is specifically for bird watchers, people who are enthused about watching birds. And what happens is when your dog is unleashed, they scare away the birds.
And the people that's there to watch them can't even enjoy watching the birds.
They have to, he said something about they have to watch them with binoculars in their flight, and they don't have ground view of the birds. So the birds are not going to get up close because the dogs are there. And Amy is walking her dog unleashed. Mr. Cooper decides to say to her, he's like, hey, put your leash on your dog. She's like, nah, we've been locked up in the house. He needs his exercise. They are looting from the furniture store.
Is that also apply? Because it's in Chicago. Is that also apply?
I don't know about this place, but they're hauling mattresses away. How
is that helping fight for justice?
We're gonna get into that. That one is Chicago.
Turn this off because I'm frustrated. This is
so. Where was I? So he tells her again, please leash your dog. She's like, no, he needs his exercise. He can't roam about. Mr. Cooper tells Amy, there's another part of the park that you can go into that you can let your dog be free as he'd like to be. She says, no, that part of the park isn't safe. And he's like, well, listen, you leash your dog or I'll figure out a way to, and you're not going to like it.
That's what he told her?
That's what he told her. And so Amy decides, oh my God, that means you're going to try to kill me and my dog. That's what her mind automatically jumps to. Nothing in between.
Jesus.
You're going to murder me, black man.
Jesus.
And so at the time, you know, he's telling her, you're not going to like it. What her taking his assumption, she assumed incorrectly, of course. But he carries dog treats with him because he knows that most people that have pets do not like for you to hand feed their pets because it's dangerous. Like most people.
And I'm glad he did not give that dog any treat because she'd be squirming.
But he knows that's why he's had this type of confrontation before. That's why he carries the dog treats with him. Because as soon as he puts his hand out for the dog to come, the people put the leash on the dog. It just happens that way every time. So he recognizes the behavior of these people who let their dog run free. And so that is what he meant when he says, you're not going to like it. He's going for his dog treats that he carries.
Lord. So she thought he was about to pull out a gun.
She's like, and she says at that moment, I'm going to call the police. And these are her words. And tell them a black man is trying to hurt me.
Not a man.
No. She said an African-American man. That's what she said the first time.
Does she know that they were videotaping?
He had the phone out. He had the phone out, so it was obvious that he was recording. So she put on her acting hat and dialed 911, and she went from talking like you and I to, oh my God, there's a man here, and he's black, and he's going to kill me and my dog. In the meantime, she has the dog by the collar, and he is gasping for life. Leash in this hand.
She's about to, she's about to kill the dog.
She's about to kill the dog.
Trying to make a scene over.
Trying to be on the phone and trying to convince the authorities that this man is going to try to harm her and her dog. The leash is still in this hand. All she had to do was take the leash in this hand, put it on the collar of the dog, and walk away. But no, her privilege showed up and showed out, and she tried to convince them that, you know, she was going to be hurt. And fortunately, the authorities on the phone like, no, sis, like this, that we not taking this one. No. We're not going to take this. And she asked her on the phone, the operator or the 911 operator was like, well, is your dog on a leash? And she never answered the question.
Of course she's not going to answer the question because that's going to admit that she's wrong.
She was completely incorrect. When all she had to do at the top of this scenario was when he said, knowing you were wrong. Because she admitted to him. She was like, yes, I know he's supposed to have on a leash, but he needs his exercise.
What the heck? What does having on a leash and having your dog in your exercise?
Because he needed to roam
with the price
free.
of tea in China?
He needed to roam free. And he didn't even say, again, I don't know how many of you have ever been to Central Park, but Central Park is huge.
Yes.
Miles and miles and miles. We just telling you in this one part of the park, you need to leash your dog. Go to another section where it doesn't matter. And she could not do that. And therefore, she decided to use her privilege thinking that somebody was going to come. You wanted somebody to come and get this man. So you can't tell us you didn't want any harm to be done to him. You knew what you changing the inflection on your voice was going to do to the person on the other end.
They're going to think you're in distress.
And you specified
a black African American man.
You specified it. So you knew.
Crazy, man. Look, I just want all our young people and our boys, men and girls and adults, just be aware of all your surroundings and everything, because there are a lot of people out here that has this, that do not have your best intentions in times, a lot of times, man. Be aware of your surroundings and everything.
It's yeah. So we're gonna circle back around to Minneapolis. And we're not gonna hold y'all long because we are tired. Like, this has been exhausting. Even watching like the lives. I heard a lot of people say they were up last night, just watching lives. Like, they couldn't get to sleep.
I couldn't. I was up 3, 4, 5 times. I couldn't. I was. It was uneasy for me.
So if you live underneath a rock somewhere, last week, and we didn't even talk about rest in power, Aubrey. But yeah, this was last week. Mr. George Floyd was going into a store. The store, this is paraphrasing all this and making it short, assumed he was trying to pass off a bad check, which was found to be incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
Called the police. Police showed up. They dragged him from his vehicle, proceeded to slam him down. He was detained, so he could not fight back. And this officer decided to rest his knee, full body weight, onto his neck for a full 9 minutes.
And he was surrounded by 3 other cops.
Surrounded by 3 other police officers. There was even a fire person, if I'm not mistaken, that was like, "This is a little much. You need to stop." But he said no. And he carried on, and several times Mr. Floyd said he was unable to breathe. He said, "I am dying," and persisted to inform him that he was unable to breathe. He called out for his mother, who is deceased.
His bodily fluids came from out of his body.
And he died on camera after being unable to properly breathe for 9 minutes. And as people that are supposed to protect us all watched a person, their peer, do this.
The blue gang.
And so here you have us today in Richmond. We're on the 3rd night of, I'm gonna say, riots as protests. This has happened to us as Black people one too many times, and here you have the result. We don't know where this is gonna go
at all. At this point, we don't.
You have no clue where this is gonna go. Nobody does. It's just, people are tired. People are completely tired. And I'm going to say my part about this, and then you can give yours. I completely understand what is going on outside. I know why people are doing what they're doing. I also know there are people out there that truly want peaceful protests. They want their voices to be heard, but then there are others who are tired of just the peaceful protests and feel like nobody's going to hear us until we tear stuff up. But I also believe that there are paid instigators and agitators in the midst that know what can happen if this continues, and it's completely what they want. I believe this idiot that sits in the White House, this is what he wants, to fulfill this sick need to. It's a sick need, but he thinks it's secretive, but we see all over it. He does not like Black people, or people of color in general. And he's waiting for, I'm going to use quotations loosely, the slip up so he can take care of what he needs to take care of.
Yep.
I firmly believe that. And so between the people that are doing this without knowing what the cause is, you just out there just to be tearing up stuff and looting, and between the agitators and instigators, I think he'll get what he wants, and who knows what the outcome of that will be.
As far as the protest, I completely agree with peaceful protest. But I also understand the reason why it has not been as peaceful as we would like it. Because, as you have said, people are tired of us being peaceful and still dying.
Mm-hmm.
People are upset with us being almost dormant and nothing is still happening. We are a people that has had to take a whole lot of stuff just to be recognized as a human being.
As a human.
And so now that they are burning, destroying, looting, now we got your attention.
And still not in a way as to where you will listen.
Where you will listen.
Why this is happening in the first place.
But as a human being and a black man and a black father, this cannot continue to happen in the places where the majority of the black people are employed. Because we have in our city of Richmond, Virginia, we have where they're protesting and where they are destroying and where they are looting, there are plenty of black businesses that they're going up in. There are plenty of places where African American, Latino people of color work in to provide for their families. And if you are destroying the places that help people provide for their family, are you hurting or helping the movement? Are you hurting or helping other black people? I understand your frustration because I get frustrated.
And let's get this clear. I mean, as for me, I'm not talking about big corporations.
You're talking about
the small businesses is what, the concern is. We're not talking about in Minneapolis, it started in the Target. We know they got money and insurance. It's the smaller businesses. And please don't get this twisted as well. Just because there are black people who primarily work in businesses that are not black owned.
Mm-hmm.
That we are the face of the business, but they are not black owned. I think those are perhaps just as important because we still have to provide for families, even though whatever reason we may be a face of the company and somebody is in the background that's not of color that's making money off of us. But that doesn't make it any less important because I still got to get a check and I still got to take that home.
And put food on
the table. And that's at the end of the day, it still goes back to the community. So those are two different things, but we still got to look out for one another. And I do see that a lot on the comments, like all businesses need to be protected. I mean, I can't sympathize for large corporations that are getting hit up in this. And again, still not the right people aren't listening still. They still don't get it. You got their attention, but it's still, you got their attention in such a way that it's like, oh, they are who we thought they were.
But see, as you said it in the beginning, in your initial comment on this subject, we are being baited because of our anger. Mm-hmm. We are being baited by the alt-right, and even in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, and in St. Paul's, which that's why they call it the Twin City, because they're right beside each other, the two biggest cities in the state. They actually, the people they arrested weren't from the state. On this morning, 9:30 press conference in the city of Richmond, the mayor and the police chief confirmed that the people that are doing the instigating of the violence and the rioting here in Richmond, Virginia, traveled from states away,
from
and
Iowa
specifically, are the ones that's doing it. And here it is like this: if you out there, and sometimes the temptation get too much if you see something that's free.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't do it. You shouldn't take from it. But don't go. This is not helping. How is this helping when you are destroying where your people makes a living? A lot of folk ain't gonna agree how I just said that. A lot of folk are not gonna agree with that. But now, even in Richmond, I heard this morning that they're starting a community, what they call it?
A review board.
A community review board for actions of the police. That's a step.
Yeah.
That's what we need. That is a part of the process. Another part of the process is get the right people into office. Get the right people into office to make the legislative changes that we need to make for, number one, for your city or your county. Number two, for the area in the state that you live in, your representative for the state, then your representative in the Senate and Congress for federal. But only thing we get focused on is the president. And that ticked me off. Because the president, yes, he did 45 can say a lot of stuff. The president of these United States, whoever it is at the time, can say a lot of stuff and it has some trickle-down effect to it. But who's going to affect your schools?
Right.
Who's going to affect your community?
And that's not the president.
Who's going to affect your state? And 9 times out of 10, it's not the president. It's the people that your kids go to school with. It's these people that affect your life more than the federal government. So, I don't care if you white, you black, you Latino, you Asian. If you're not for the community that we live in, you ain't for me.
Right.
And we do have some messed up black people that's in office. And that is for us not, the old saying, all skin folk ain't kin folk.
It's certainly correct.
So you got to get rid of the people that is corrupting the system, and you getting caught up by the color of their skin.
Yep.
We want to blame all white people for this thing that's happening. But you forget it was the white people that hid us under the basements in the holes of their floor during the Underground Railroad.
They were allies.
They were.
Well,
they are
but
allies.
I don't think people forget. Because to me, that's where our opinion might differ slightly. It's still their fault. It's still their
slavery,
fault.
I mean, prejudice, slavery, racism is their fault.
It's their fault.
But there are some allies, so it's not everybody.
No.
It's not all of them. And we have a tendency to group everybody in the same viewpoint.
And I put that quote up the other day, the Desmond Tutu quote that says, if you're neutral, you are part of the problem. So who is the worst individual, though? A individual that sees these atrocities and sees these disproportionate actions and see that there are black people being treated unfairly, sitting back watching as those police officers did with their colleague. Who is the worst person? The one that sits back and calls themselves an ally, but when fist truly comes to cuff, you can't be found? Or, the ones that I'm sure, don't get me wrong, people are fighting in the trenches. But some of them disappear when the rubber truly hits the road.
Yeah.
And you, to me, are in the same boat. if you sitting back and watching this happen,
Yep.
but call yourself, I'm not a racist because I've never done this and my people haven't done this. But you won't recognize your privilege or you won't say anything when you see injustices happen.
Nope.
So you are just as bad.
And that is why I'm thankful for the ones that are now are fighting with us against the racist and oppressive people that's trying to always keep black people down.
Mm-hmm.
But I also want people to understand that there are some infiltrators in the midst of this. There's some infiltrators that's disguising that they are with you, but want to secretly help destroy who you are, your community, and your reputation.
Yep. Yep. So you've gotten our our opinion on this, and we'll have some more to say. And that's the reason we on today and not yesterday, because yesterday I was just drained. Like this whole thing is still drained me, but we didn't want to leave y'all 2 weeks in a row without a show, because last week we were drained as well, and all this hadn't even happened.
Yeah.
We were just drained from going into phase 1 and trying to recover from COVID, reactions and all of this stuff. And so it's been a lot. Keep in mind, we doing all this and it's still a pandemic out there.
Yeah.
So we didn't want to leave y'all 2 weeks in a row, but we still want to get y'all's opinion. And thank you, Torek and Ma and Tiana, for your responses. If you know anybody else, please share. We want to know people's opinion. We'll be back. Unfortunately, but fortunately, I'm sure there will be more news to share on next week.
Before we leave, the city of Richmond was in a curfew. They set an 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew on tonight. It was an indefinite curfew, so there was no time frame when the curfew will be lifted. But they also tried again to do the protests and walking up. And we have had 3 protests today. It was one around noon. It was another one around 4. And then the latest one started like 7:30, 8 o'clock. Listen to me. If you are out there and the city has told you to go in the house, have a civil protest at a time where you know it ain't the curfew. Yes, I get it. You want to be who you want to be. But don't forget, when the people that are in power issue something, you have to follow it. Because now they have right to do things. We was looking at a news reporter before we came on, and they had tear gassed the crowd. And somebody just got hit with it. One of the guys that was with him got hit with the canister. Look, man. Look. And I'm not saying be no punk. I'm not saying cower down to the oppressors. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying, if you want change, you have to make changes. You have to go about it in the correct manner. You have to encourage our young people or cheer them on, not only when they score a touchdown or make a basket or kick a goal, a ball in a goal. We have to be cheering them on academically. We have to encourage our young people or people of color, POCs, to be judges, lawyers, doctors, police people, because you can't make the necessary changes if you're not in the places of power to make those changes. We have to be smarter, and you can be as militant as you want to be. But you do not make changes until you make them on the grassroots level. Let's remember this. And we always talk about Malcolm X, and we always talk about the Black Panthers and how they did. We relive them. The Black Panthers started in a neighborhood. They controlled their neighborhood. They policed their neighborhood. And they policed the police that policed their neighborhood. They started in a neighborhood and then it grew. Now, as I'm gonna call this, I'm gonna call the spade a spade. Many black folk don't want to be told what to do or want to be organized enough to listen to a leader to be able to be fully organized. Because as soon as we don't agree with the leader, we want to go and do our own thing.
Mm-hmm. And then you split already.
Already. So, what do we have to do? We have to get organized. And every time, and I had a conversation yesterday. Somebody's like, yo, we need somebody that's going to, Obama didn't push the black agenda. I said, what is the black agenda?
Crickets.
What is the black agenda?
Crickets.
Couldn't say nothing. Why? Because we haven't organized. Why? Because the NAACP, as I know it in here, ain't really doing nothing to allow us to know that we organized to do something. We have to be better about being together. We have to get organized. We have to figure out what's important to us. We have to strategize, and we have to allow a leader to lead, but also hold a leader accountable to the actions of the many. And that is our issue. That is our problem. And that's what we got to work on. But that's all I got. That's all I have. I don't know if you have anything else.
I'm going to bed.
Going to bed? Me too. We thank y'all again. I guess we went down to 3. Don't forget to post, share our page, and look for us on all your podcast channels as well. So
Y'all be safe out there.
Be safe out here. And we love y'all. Y'all keep fighting the good fight. Doing it the way you see fit. Because my right way might not be your right way. But I don't want you to be hurt doing it a way. All right. Love y'all.
Peace.
See y'all next week.
Good night.